A brief introduction to this 2014 Mercedes-Benz E350 4Matic. This is a W212 chassis. It is the mid-cycle refresh, or the first year of the refresh. This vehicle is replacing our 2007 BMW 328xi. Unfortunately, that vehicle was rear-ended and totaled. No injuries to either party, but the driver at fault was financially responsible. So we've replaced that vehicle with this vehicle. And for those of you that aren't in the know, the mid-cycle refresh of the W212 chassis was a $1 billion endeavor by Mercedes-Benz, probably the largest, or one of the largest documented mid-cycle refreshes ever. And the reason for that is Mercedes-Benz was falling behind in terms of sales. They were not keeping up with the competition. There are a lot of things that they did to this vehicle that you would not normally see on a mid-cycle refresh. They went a lot deeper than just revised front and rear fascias. They went into the sheet metal. They revised the headlights as well as the taillights. And the headlights are a different design, as are the taillights. But the headlights are also a different lighting technology. So on the prior pre-refresh W212s, you had either full halogen headlights or xenon headlights. And on the refresh models, you have either partial LED or full LEDs. The full LEDs were an option. And then on the taillights for this vehicle, the refresh model, they have kind of, it looks like almost like a neon tube. It's not neon, it's LED, but it's really an attractive design upgrade. It looks quite a bit better than the older models. They went into the powertrain, the prior E350s, of which we owned a W211 chassis vehicle. They had the M272 3.5 liter V6. This is the M276. The difference being, same displacement, but the difference being that this is a 60-degree V6 engine versus a 90-degree, and that allowed Mercedes to get rid of the balance shaft, and it's a more compact design. It's a smoother, quieter running engine, and there's a lot of other differences about this vehicle, from infotainment to the interior, and just overall a lot changed mid-cycle on the W212s versus the earlier part of that generation. And I've worked on those, done some work on those, and I'm familiar with the earlier models as opposed to this newer model. So we'll be doing an oil change today, and that will be the extent of it for this video. However, my intention is to do a full post-delivery preventative maintenance series of videos on this vehicle, much like I performed on our 2017 330i xDrive, which we purchased just last summer for my youngest son. This vehicle is for my oldest son, and I'm going to do all of the same things, and the list will run something like this. I'll be doing oil change, all the filters, engine air filter, cabin air filter. I'll also get into a brake flush, cooling system flush and refill, transmission service, front and rear differentials, the transfer case, I presume that's serviceable, and then just anything else that needs attention. There's nothing that's inoperable or broken on the vehicle, which is good, so all of this will be preventative maintenance. But my method, or my mode of operation, is to, anytime we purchase a pre-owned car, we know some of the service history, but we don't know all the service history. So my intent is to approach this as if nothing's been done, do everything you can possibly do to the vehicle, and then you're assured that, for the future, you shouldn't have any problems in terms of those types of maintenance items. And that's it. We're going to move on to the oil change straight away. It's fairly straightforward. There are other videos on how to do oil changes on these vehicles, so I'm not sure if I'm going to uncover anything unusual, but we'll get to it straight away. Before moving to the oil change, I should mention that this W212 is a highly optioned example. It has both the premium package as well as the sport package. and some other a la carte options. The sport package consists of the AMG wheels, the blacked out window trim, the black roof, the black shark fin antenna, and black accents around the side mirrors. The prior owner of this vehicle had a window tint installed that is from Ceramic Pro. I think that is a nice tasteful touch for this color combination. And from what I can tell, the prior owner used but did not abuse this vehicle. It was actually a female driver. Take that for what it's worth, but I believe she took very good care of it. She had it serviced at the dealer, and yeah, just looking at what I can see under the hood and the undercarriage and all of that, I believe it was also a garaged vehicle. So just some comments to add as we move to the oil change. First order of business is to remove this front engine cover. It pulls up and straight out. I had already loosened it as I'm working with one hand. And then of course, make sure that you can remove the oil cap. If you cannot remove the oil cap, that could make for a very bad day if you get the oil drained and you can't get the cap off. But this one came off with no issue. So we'll move to the underside of the vehicle. To access the drain plug on the bottom of the engine, you'll want to remove the forward-most undercover. I actually removed both of the undercovers as it's the first time I'm working on the vehicle, so I wanted to get a look at what was above each of those. I did a full PPI, pre-purchase inspection on this vehicle. I had it on a lift and I went over it with a fine-tooth comb, but I wasn't able to disassemble anything or remove these covers to have a closer look. So again, first time, so I have everything removed, and there's a lot of water in each of these pans because the vehicle was washed prior to putting it on the lift. So the remains of the oil is coming out now, and that's the location of the drain plug. The drain plug itself it's a very long thread aluminum 13 millimeter plug, and it has the typical copper crush washer. So I will check the oil filter kit to see if they included a crush washer. If they didn't, I have plenty of spares for situations where it's not included. And also the fasteners are 8 millimeters. So if you're familiar with working on BMWs or Mercedes, they love their 8 millimeter fasteners, and that's what's holding each of those under trays in place. So what I'm probably going to do is probably lower this down, this basin down, lower the car, and then get on a step ladder, and I'm going to pull the oil filter out, because I have a feeling when I do that there's going to be additional oil come out and end up in the bottom of the pan. So we want to make sure we get every drop that we can out of the engine, and that's what I've had to do on a couple of other vehicles, not all vehicles, but there's often kind of a vacuum at play there in the oil filter housing area. So, and you could do it before, you could certainly do it before. I didn't think to do it. I'm trying to get this vehicle complete and take video at the same time. So we'll move up top. Okay folks, we're back up top, and first word of advice: if you don't have one of these, get one. This is the oil filter housing adapter, and it fits perfectly and allows you to remove the filter housing without damage. That is, if you use a normal oil filter wrench, you'll run the risk of stripping this or collapsing it or marring it, who knows what, but this is the correct item. And I'm sorry, but I don't know what size this is. There's not a marking on it, but it's specific for this application. This particular one is from Motive Tools, and it's MX2323. Okay, so make sure you also mask this area off or surround it with paper towels, because it's a pretty big opportunity for a mess. And I made a premature statement before. I don't think you can take this off before first draining oil out of the engine, because it would make a major mess. I think you'd have some oil backed up in the filter housing, which would be just a real problem. I'm sure the dealer just drains the oil, puts the plug back in, and then they're done and they're off and running, and they do the rest up top. But for me, again, I'm going to try to get every drop of oil out of this. So I have a feeling when I back this out, we're going to hear oil come out the bottom of the engine. Also, this is the older style oil filter. This was for the M272. Again, we had a W211 chassis vehicle, and this is how that oil filter was designed. However, they don't use this style. They now have gone to this style. So you've got the O-ring, you've got the filter. The filter is actually quite a bit bigger, and it's substantially beefier, I guess, or stronger, stouter. There's more plastic. It's more rigid in construction. But what they didn't include is the crush washer for the drain plug, which again, I'm prepared for. And that's typical Mercedes-Benz. They never include, well, at least on the vehicles I've worked on, they haven't included the crush washer. So we'll get to this next. And well, first of all, I'll get this housing off, and then we'll go from there. Okay, folks, the oil filter housing has been backed out, and that's what it looks like from above. It actually wasn't messy at all. I heard just a little bit of oil come out the bottom of the oil pan. Probably not much. I'm not sure it warranted doing what I'm doing, where I still have the drain plug off on the bottom, but nevertheless, it was worth a try. And I'll swap out the O-ring, swap out the filter. I'll clean this up, get any residual oil out of there, and then, yeah, put the cap back on or put the housing back on, and we'll move back down underneath and put the drain plug in place. Get the covers back on, come up top, and put the oil in. One of the things I noticed that is really cool on this refresh W212 is this air inlet here. It's blocked off for this application, the V6, but it is intended for the V8 equipped models, which I think is pretty cool because it's one part for all. They included it. It's not needed. They capped it off, but it's there. That really simplifies production. So it's a nice touch. The old filter is out and the new filter is installed in the housing. Please ignore the oil pan. That is from a project on a different vehicle. But one thing to mention is these oil filters, they're snapped into place, and yeah, just be wary of that because you can sling oil all over the place when removing the original filter or the old filter, and then installing the new one, just make sure it's snapped in. I've got the O-ring on, and we're good to go. Filter housing is back in place, and we're good to go. It calls for 25.5 Newton meters of torque. I simply screw this down until it bottoms out. I don't put any pressure on it beyond that, but once it bottoms out, it's tight from my perspective. But again, the cap says 25.5 Newton meters, so we should be good to go. Just a quick look at the new crush washer. If you work on Mercedes-Benz vehicles, doing oil changes, etc., just get yourself a set of these because, again, they do not, or they are not included with the oil filter change kits. I've got probably 50 to 100 of these on hand for situations like this. So just a word of advice. The under trays are back in place, and a thank you to Mercedes-Benz for integrating clips into the under trays themselves. So there's a clip here and a clip here, which allows this panel to be held in place while you put the fasteners in place. Ditto for the panel in the back. It's the little things that matter, and probably a word of advice to others that just to do something like this would be a nice touch. Oil has been topped off in the engine, and it requires 6.9 quarts of Mobil 1 synthetic. I prefer 0W40. I use 0W40 in everything we own, all of our automobiles, with the exception of the Tesla, and pressure washer, lawn tractor, snowblower, you name it, that is my oil of choice. It covers the broadest or widest range of applications. Something to be aware of here is the filler for the oil, which is on top of this cam drive. I usually grab one of the larger funnels that I have and place the snout in, and it stays in place. However, this cam drive here, this black and kind of orange butterscotch colored plastic, that cam driver, that's the chain guide, it is in your way. So unfortunately, you have to use a smaller funnel when you're replacing the oil in the engine. Not a big deal, just something I found was kind of interesting, is that is directly in your way. But I really like this engine. Again, 60-degree V6, no balance shaft. It's more compact. It's a much cleaner engine compartment than the M272. And we're going to enjoy this. It's going to be a lot of fun projects working on this vehicle. Once again, the reason for changing the oil when taking delivery of either a pre-owned vehicle or a new vehicle is I don't know when the oil was changed last. It was dark, it was dirty. The vehicle service reminder is not calling for an oil change. We're going to reset that in a moment. But as a general principle, whether it's a brand new car, driving the car home from the dealer or from wherever you're picking it up, or if you're taking delivery of a pre-owned vehicle, get it home, and the first thing you do is get the oil out of it and start fresh. That way, you know, there's been a logical reset there to ensure that you're not going to question when the oil was changed last, or if someone simply reset the service reminder without changing the oil and filter. I'm not saying that was the case here, only that the oil was pretty dirty, so I'm glad that I did it. We'll move on and get the service indicator reset. Okay, folks, we are in the vehicle and we're staring now at the instrument panel. You want the key in position 1. For the keyless ignition, that is one press of the start-stop button, and you'll see the airbag light up, or the icon for the airbag on the right light up briefly and then disappear, but none of the other lights should be on. You're going to cycle around using this keypad. You're going to cycle through the menu, and I'm just going to move around here just a little bit. Come back to the trip setting. You want to be on this exact screen, and then you're going to press the phone button and the OK button at the same time, but press this one 1 second before this one, if that makes any sense. If you press the OK button too soon, then it asks you if you want to reset the trip odometer, and you're not going to get to the service menu that you need to be in. So I can't do this with one hand. I'll try to keep the camera situated and focused on the instrument panel, and here we go. Pressing the phone button first and the OK button second. Okay, we are now in the menu. To go down to, you want to scroll down using this keypad. Scroll down to Assist Plus. Select Service Data. Actually, not Service Data. You're going to select Full Service. And then you're going to select Confirm Full Service. Okay. Yes. Cannot be undone. Confirm. Full service carried out. Now, I'm not educated on all of those service numbers just yet. We had, again, a prior Benz, a W212 chassis, and it had a similar system for resetting the service indicator. But I'll look that up. I'll get educated on that and share that in my future videos. I hope this has been helpful.